wherever the road of world communism leads. Someday, according to its builders, it will surround not merely the world, but the moon, the stars, outer space, the universe.
A new Middle East crisis arises as President Nasser of Egypt tells a wildly cheering crowd in Alexandria that Egypt has seized the internationally owned Suez Canal. His announcement touches off a rapid series of reprisals and counter-reprisals. Britain freezes all Egyptian funds, and Egypt retaliates with the same measures. France lodges a bitter protest and suggests military action. The 85-year-old waterway, of which the United States is the second biggest user, brings a three-power meeting in London to discuss the biggest threat this year has posed to world peace. Shuddered at the thought, for this catastrophic weapon struck fear in the minds of men all over the world.
The free world does not want it dependent on the Egyptian government. In London, Paris, and Washington, the fate of the strategic waterway causes grave concern. The Egyptian says is his answer to the West for refusing to finance the Aswan Dam.
In 1951, Zakari GONEIM started digging south of the Yunus Pyramid, and he discovered a wall. His body was pulled out of the Nile River in 1959. GONEIM published two works, The Buried Pyramid, sometimes titled as The Lost Pyramid, in 1956 for a general audience, which you can find on archive.org. And in 1957 he published Excavations at Zakari, Horus Sekhem-khet, The Unfinished Pyramid, which is more of an academic work.
Have led authorities to suspect that a biological warfare attack may have taken place.
As you can tell from the music, the 1950s was, let's say, very busy. Egypt required electricity and the Nile River was the obvious choice. They needed a dam and with Soviet help they began construction in 1960. An international effort went underway to save some of the archaeological sites, but sadly many have been lost. Whatever you think of colonizations, there are benefits. The Description delle Egypt is a seminal work, multi-volume large plate work with superb drawings, and more importantly for us, accurate measurements. Around the same time in the Americas and Mexico, tantalizing drawings were coming to Europe, suggesting contact between ancient cultures. Now, the French already had colonies in North America for over 200 years, specifically in the area where the large geometric earthen moundworks of the Hopewell and Addenda culture were situated. Now, the official history for the reason of Napoleon's invasion of Egypt is that he wanted to disrupt the trade network the British had with the East. And that may be true, but could there also be a more archaeological reason? Soon after the first drawings came out of America, photography was developed and improved, giving mesmerizing reality to exotic ruins. In the 19th century, as Egyptomania was happening and biblical archaeology was happening, Atlantis and lost ancient civilizations mania was happening as well. The pyramids that they found in the Americas fueled all sorts of wild speculation and theories. Now, I've looked for modern evidence of some of the drawings and I can't find any. There were a lot of fakes and fabrications happening then as there is now. But many people, including me, still wonder. Now, 1,000 years before Chichen Itza and 1,000 kilometers across the Gulf is the ancient site of Teotihuacan, which has the most majestic pyramid in the Americas. Due to poor restoration around 1905, the size of the footprint is unclear. I'll be using 223 meters in this video. I want you to remember that raised platform and those measurements, A and B. Now, the first thing you'll notice about the Pyramid of Sekhemkhet is the azimuth. Djoser is a little bit to the east and Sekhemkhet is a little bit to the west. There are only 2 layers of the pyramid found. So if you see pictures, they're reproductions, estimates. There's one single mastaba in the compound. You enter the descending passageway and then halfway down you can take a right and go down a tunnel into the galleries. Or you can go all the way down to the main chamber. Now, this tunnel that comes out of the descending passage joins up with the galleries there. It seems odd to me. That passage and all of the staggered galleries seem to be 2 separate parts of the underground structure. In the plan view there, it shows the tunnel and how it's not at 90 degrees. Very strange. Once you come down the descending passage, you enter the main chamber. And on the other 3 sides, there are stairs going up to more passages. These raised passages, the 3 main ones and the little dogleg at the back, stop abruptly. Again, very strange. The pyramid is 120 meters square as opposed to Djoser's, which is 121 by 109. And there's the difference between the galleries. All of the passages and chambers are cut out of limestone. They're not fine stonework like some later pyramids. One of the most astounding features is the sarcophagus with a dovetailed door on one end. This is a simplified model and I suggest you follow the links to see just how amazing it is. As far as I know, it's the only example in Egypt. It's made of alabaster, like the sarcophagus of Tefres I, which they found next to the Great Pyramid down that shaft there. Other earlier examples of alabaster sarcophagi are underneath the Djoser Pyramid. Now, if you haven't watched the video Pyramid of Djoser I, now is a good time to stop and watch. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and do some revision. And that symbol there is one of the keys to archaeology. Now the angle between Sekhemkhet and Djoser is 11.4 degrees, a little bit over 11.4. Now what's amazing is it's at that angle there, and by symmetry it's also that angle. I hope you're sitting down, because it is also over 99.99% accurate, this angle. I'll give you a moment to think about that and let it sink in. Now I'm going to make this angle symmetrical, and we're going back to the Americas, back to Aguada Phoenix now. Aguada Phoenix is one of many platforms that they found before 2020 using LiDAR, which they believe is a transition phase between the Olmec and the Mayan, the beginning of the Mayan culture. If you read this paper there, they have a distribution of the different platforms and a graph of the azimuths of the various platforms, which spike at 11 and 12 degrees in Nature magazine. And this is a good segue. There's the original title page of the first Nature magazine in 1869, and it was begun by a very accomplished man, Joseph Norman Lockyer. He was known for, amongst other things, discovering helium, and is one of the pioneers of archaeoastronomy, which is what we do. He wrote a number of books, not just Nature magazine, and towards the end of his book on Stonehenge, he has a number of plans, including one on Chichen Itza by Alfred Maudsley. This is a very accurate drawing of Chichen Itza. It's based in part on the Iconos satellite photograph, which you can find online. Now I'm going to simplify the drawing and turn it so we don't get sore necks. That's the reference corner and a reference line. That top line is not at 90 degrees, it's a little bit more than 90 degrees. Now I'll add the Sekhemkhet complex and compare. Now hold on to your hat, because I'm throwing you into the deep end. If none of this makes any sense at all, don't worry, I'll cover it later when I do the Meso American pyramids. But for now, see if you can see any lines or structures lining up. Some people will understand this and go, well, it's just a coincidence or a couple of coincidences. And I'll agree, yes, there's definitely more than one coincidence there. Now the azimuth of Sekhemkhet is about twice, a little bit over twice that of the Djoser azimuth. And I've estimated it to be originally from Giza el Mudir, which was built much earlier, but we don't know by whom. Not much is known about early pharaohs. The best evidence for Sekhemkhet building the pyramid is an ivory plaque that was found in the main chamber by Zakari GONEIM. There's very little evidence of him, but there is some in the Sinai. We're going to go there now. There's Wadi El Jaf, the oldest seaport in the world. Since we're going to the Sinai, we have to visit Serebit El Kadim. There's a wonderful diagram and drawings by Flinders Petrie in his book, Researches in the Sinai. You can see the stone tablets, the stelae, which have been placed there since the beginning of Egypt. And when you think of stone tablets and mountains in Sinai, well, now southwest of Serebit El Kadim is Wadi Magre, where there are ancient turquoise mines and a pictograph of Sekhemkhet. The layer pyramid, the pyramid of Kaaba, has got a similar gallery structure, which many people have noted resembles the hieroglyph Ka symbol, which is understood to be something like the life force or part of the soul. Another important part of the soul being Ba. It's much older than the current major religions like the Abrahamic religions, and certainly it had a huge effect on them. You now know both the Joseph Pyramid and the Sekhemkhet Pyramid. The other pyramids at Zakari will come back to in later videos. In the next video, we'll be going to Zawiat El Aryan to look at 2 sites there. I'll leave you now with the azimuth of Sekhemkhet. We're going to double it, and you're going to have a 1-minute exam. I'll leave the rest of the video to you. Good luck.